Thank you for that wonderful song. It was beautiful. And I like your message, never give up. And that's what I wanted to share about what we're talking about, raising your vibrational frequency. How do you keep your frequency high? And what is your message about never giving up? How do you never give up? Let's explain what Myoho Renge Kyo is, and actually how does that help somebody raise their vibrational frequency, to never give up.
Right. The best definition for Myoho Renge Kyo is devotion is Nam, Myoho is the mystic law. So devotion to the mystic law. The mystic law is that energy that connects all of us, everything and everybody. And Renge is the simultaneity of cause and effect, which actually Renge means lotus, which seeds and blooms at the same time. So it represents the simultaneity of cause and effect. So that's Renge. And Kyo is vibration or sound. So Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Devotion to the mystic law of cause and effect through sound or vibration. And that's the thing that got me when I first experienced it, is the vibration of it.
Mm-hmm. And the sutra also states that the voice does the Buddha's work, Buddha being the enlightened person. So when we chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, it activates our 5 senses, taste, hearing, touch, sound, all of that, yeah. So we say it out loud, and that's what enlightenment is the purification of our senses, to really be able to see and smell and touch and see things for what they are, the truth of what they are. And Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, it polishes us like a diamond. Or if you have a mirror and you can't see through that mirror clearly, you'll polish it. And Nam Myoho Renge Kyo polishes our mirror every day so that we see things clearly with our internal wisdom. And then it's also about the vibration, the energy. There's no higher vibration than saying Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. So when we say that, we automatically connect. When I was in high school, we used to have jeans and we would dye them blue and black and red and different colors. There's something in Buddhism called the indigo blue. And when you dye something in that blue, it even becomes bluer than the actual plant that it started in. So this is what happened. We fuse our life with this practice. And even though there's negative energy that comes into us, because we chant at such a high vibration, we fuse with that high vibration, and therefore we're not unaffected by the lower vibrations. The lower vibrations cannot bring us down to their vibration as long as we're on a higher vibration. It just can't happen. As long as the light is there, then the darkness has to subside to the light. So staying in a high vibration and a high life force, a high life condition, we have the energy to figure out any problem, because the wisdom is inherited in us already, and we already know the answer. It's just pulling it up. So Nam Myoho Renge Kyo helps us to stay steady. It helps us to emit the highest vibration so that whatever we ask for, we're able to receive it and keep moving forward with life's challenges.
Okay. And what type of Buddhism is this? Where did this come from?
Well, it started with Shakyamuni Buddha over 3,000 years ago. He was a prince in India, and as the story goes, his parents was visited by a wise man who told him he would either be a great king, his son would either be a great king or a monk. And so the father didn't want his son to be a monk. He wanted to make sure he'd be a great king and take over his inheritance and stay, because he was a prince. And as said, the story goes, at 18 years old, this prince looked over the prince's walls and he saw this suffering. And it was so different than his life, where there was no suffering. They wouldn't let him see death. He had anything you could think of, he had at his bedside in his room. And so when he saw this death, when he looked over the walls, he was determined to find an answer. So thus the story goes, he did all kind of strenuous activities. He starved himself. He did all kind of rituals. But he found out that life is all of that. Life is having hunger and appetite. Life is desire. It's wanting and wishing. It's the pain. It's the joy. It's the sun. It's the rain. It's all that together.
He discovered the four sufferings of birth, old age, suffering, sickness, and death. Those are inevitable. We're all going to experience those things. And so he set out to find the highest teaching, which he found in the Lotus Sutra. And Myoho Renge Kyo is the title of the Lotus Sutra. So when we chant that, we're actually chanting the Lotus Sutra.
Yeah, so he expounded different books, but his highest teaching is the Lotus Sutra. And it's the first teaching that said that all people can achieve enlightenment. All people, have that God, creator, mystic law. All people have, men and women have that. So it was ahead of its time then, 3,000 years ago, to say that men and women equally can be enlightened and wake up to their Buddha nature. We're all Buddhas. And
let's talk about the Soka Gakkai International. Andrea referenced SGI, that stands for Soka Gakkai International. Now, this practice is Nicheren Daishonin's Buddhism. Talk about Nicheren.
Well, I was getting there on the long way. So after Shakyamuni got enlightened of the Bodhi tree, and he made this teaching to expound this, Nicheren Daishonin found his teachings 700 years ago, 13th century Japan. So 700 years ago, Nicheren Daishonin, as a child, his only wish was to be the wisest person in Japan. So he studied all these different sutras and all these different Buddhisms. And he came across the Lotus Sutra, and he read the Lotus Sutra, and he woke up to the fact that the title of the Lotus Sutra, Myoho Renge Kyo, meant that whole book, that whole thing. So instead of reading the whole book, you could say Myoho Renge Kyo, and it would mean the whole thing. So he expounded that. That was a new practice. So in doing so, he was able to test the practice by almost getting his head chopped off by the government because they refused. They didn't want to compromise with the teachings. He actually refuted the teachings of the government and said, if you keep chanting and praying in this certain way, you're going to have typhoons. You're going to have people coming that's going to invade your land. Because he said that there aren't any two lands. The land, whether it's pure or evil, depends on the mind of the people. So when you study the right teachings and you emit the right vibrations, it flows over into your environment. I mean, right now, I look at these pictures in California and I see this inferno of different fires and flames. And I say, that is somewhat of a connection to how people feel today. I even feel positive about everything in life, although I know that there's people suffering in our world because they're on a lower vibration. So I know Myoho Renge Kyo helps me from getting sucked into that negativity that is apparent and it is real. I can definitely talk about how negative things are. I can show you lots of examples of why things might be negative. Chanting keeps me seeing the positive in life. And it keeps me at a high vibration, and it helps me create the world that I desire. And after 30 years, I see that through chanting, I can create the environment that I believe is possible and the happiness that I desire. Yeah. Amongst any challenges.
Right.
In fact, challenges fuel my happiness.
Right. And I want to add to that, because I've been practicing too for over 30 years, is that like what you were talking about, tapping into your innate potential. When you chant the words or the phrase Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, that is, it raises your frequency, it raises your potential, it activates your consciousness. It is a cultivation that brings you up to a higher frequency. And that's why I'm having you on this holistic summit, is because I have found through my life, and that's what I'm sharing with all these holistic practitioners that I've interviewed for this particular masterclass summit. I have found that no matter, like what you were talking about, no matter how low a vibration can come into your life, because everybody's going to have struggles. That's what our life is here for. It is here to raise our consciousness. We're not actually told that, you know, when we first begin our life. Maybe our parents don't know, maybe people around us don't know. But once I learned from this practice that every obstacle that comes your way is actually there to help you raise your consciousness. So maybe you can discuss a little bit either one of you or both, your experience of how that's happened to you in your life.
Yeah, well, the thing that rings true for me is when we talk about chanting, put you in rhythm with the universe. So there's a rhythm to everything, Mother Nature most especially. And when you chant, you become part of that rhythm, and you gain a clarity that, you know, it just guides you from inside, which we all know evolution is an inside job, you know. So.
Yeah, and I find that the obstacles are necessary to even grow. They're like weights. You know, you can look at them as spiritual weights, and the more we practice, the stronger we get. So we need that resistance to even grow. So the challenges are necessary, almost like the yin and the yang of life. You know, you can't have light without darkness. You can't have darkness without light. You know, you can't have joy without pain, and pain without joy. It all works together, you know, but no winter lasts forever.
It always turns to spring.
Always turns to spring. So I can tell you countless of situations where I put my faith to the practice, to the challenge, and this practice to the challenge.
Well, give me an example of something that has happened to you by chanting.
Well, we met. That's a good example.
Well, a good example, yeah.
We were individually living our life, practicing this Buddhism. He was chanting for, you know, a partner to share life with and to grow with, and I was chanting for the same thing. And we actually met at a Buddhist study meeting and had an organic reaction to each other's energy, and that was in 2007. So we've got 10 years in our relationship, and it literally just keeps getting better and stronger because it's built around our spiritual practice. And so every day we take it seriously. We practice positivity, and we practice, you know, becoming the best version of ourselves that we can become, because that's our responsibility. Our happiness individually is our own responsibility. You know, that's like Andrea said, that's why we're here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great benefit. That was a great benefit in my practice because I had specifically asked for you, not meeting you yet, but I was very descriptive of what I wanted, and it happened. So, you know, along with other things, we run a nonprofit called Mystic Media Foundation. Never Give Up is the name that we do our community engagement with in entertainment, and we walk on stilts, and you know, we
dance on stilts.
We dance on stilts and play guitar. We're able to do love shows where we sing love songs to people who request certain songs from us, and we're living our dreams. I mean, everyone has a mission of what they want to accomplish in life, and you know, being able to just live my life according to my rules and my vision of what I see that I want to be in life. I see Myoho Renge Kyo protecting me every step of the way, and it keeps me on the middle path. I'm not scared or worried about the next moment or what's going to happen tomorrow, because the only thing that's important is right now. And what I like about Buddhism is how we talked about the quantum happiness, the quantum physics side of it, the string theory side of it, that everything is connected. I believe that we only really see 1% of 1% of everything that's in this mass universe or multiverse through our five senses. So Myoho Renge Kyo connects us to all. We can't possibly think about satellites in the sky and the sun and the moon and the ants in the ground and what time to be to work and what should I do at this particular meeting based on this particular situation. There's just so much going on to even think about each one. I mean, we have 60 trillion cells in our body, and they're all saying different things with different energy, and it's a big symphony going on. We're just energy. So Myoho Renge Kyo connects me to the highest energy to keep everything in synchronicity. And because we're creators, and I do believe in the ultimate creator, prime creator, that we are similar. Because of the string theory, we are attached to the creator, to the mystic law, whatever you want to call this power, we are directly connected to it. So as long as we funnel our thoughts to that highest power, that highest consciousness, then there won't be any infiltration for long. You may have a thought of negativity, but as long as you continue to chant and keep your thoughts focused on your higher self, then I believe that wins every time, because we have freedom of choice, we have free will. So therefore, nothing can take us down unless we invite it in and let it.
Right.
You know, Andre, another thing that I think is important for those that are listening and checking this out, we have, this is our altar behind us. So this practice is in 192 countries around the world. And everybody that seriously wants to practice has their own altar at home. And then we have community center and culture centers in the cities that you can go to you know.
Yeah, and I'm not going to show you my scroll, basically it's my scroll, but it does, there's a scroll in there that everyone would get that you could chant to, and what happens is that
it's called a Gohanzen.
It's a Gohanzen, and each character on that Gohanzen is a Buddha. It's Nicheren Daishonin's enlightenment. So we're talking about Nicheren Daishonin. It's Nicheren Daishonin's Buddhism because he made this Gohanzen, and he put his mind, what he thought, he put it on paper. So when you chant to this Gohanzen, you fuse with his mind, you fuse with the enlightenment, and that paper, after days and weeks and months and years of looking at it and chanting and becoming one with that, you become one with the universe, because he was an enlightened soul, which is a direct lineage of enlightened souls from Shakyamuni practicing those same principles. So when we talk about the indigo blue, the indigo plant, when we dye our lives with that, we become that. We're disciples of these people.
And then it's important to know it isn't just a piece of paper. We use it as a focal point, but it actually, the energy of the Gohanzen is inside of us. That's the most important thing.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. When you know, when asked where is the Gohanzen is inside of us, and we should never seek the Gohanzen outside of ourselves. So any solutions, anything that we're going through is already within. There's a saying, there's nothing new under the sun. And anything that has been made in all its infinite wisdom is already in us. Interesting thing that came out recently was the citizenship of the first android robot. And what's going to happen is that as these robots and androids start to expand, what one learns, everybody learns. So I said that to say this: when we chant, we already have that internet connection. We already have that cloud where all people, all humans are connected to this ether. And it's all the answers are there. Everything we need, we can grab out of this ether.
We think of the Gohanzen as a mirror, like you mentioned, an internal mirror. So it gives you clarity as to, you know, the direction you personally need to take with your own growth.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. If somebody wanted to know more about this, how do they get more information?
The best resource is the website for the Soka Gakkai International is sgi-usa.org.
Okay.
And it's a wealth of information. Whatever you need to know is there.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, you know, one thing I do know about the website is that it does have the chant on there, and it also has what's the prayer that we recite to the Gohanzen, which is the scroll that Kristian was talking about, that has Nam-myoho Renge Kyo down the center of it, there is actually they can teach you if you get associated. All you have to do is call a phone number on that website, whatever area you live in, and they can direct you to a meeting place or a community center. I know you guys are in Dallas, so you've got the beautiful culture center there with multiple Gohanzen rooms. People can go there to chant, or they can receive a Gohanzen and put it in their own home and get together with members that live in the neighborhood. That it's set up to where, I mean, I'm just adding into your conversation. Our conversation here is that if somebody does want to chant, they don't have to chant alone. That's not the sole purpose. Yes,
Yeah.
it.
Or yeah.
You can chant alone, but
Yeah.
but Andre, you hit you hit it directly. I feel the SGI is here to make sure that you're not alone, that you do have someone to talk to, that you do have support, you do have companionship in the spiritual realm of people not judging you based on anything other than the fact that you're doing the best that you can. Right. And we chant. We're just good people, I think, just getting better, like Rita would always say.
Yeah, a bunch of good people getting better. And Andrea touched on something. We do a morning and evening prayer. We call it Gongyo. And we recite a couple of chapters of the Lotus Sutra. And this, it's like the song of the universe. It's a beautiful thing to learn. And it's just something that you can add to your collection of, you know, your options of what you can do to raise your vibration and evolve as a person.
And it works.
It works.
The only thing I could tell anyone who may be interested in trying it works. There's plenty of YouTube videos that have Nam-myoho Renge Kyo on it. One of the most famous people, I think, besides the president behind me, is Tina Turner. You know, Tina Turner, she chanted and she used this practice to get out of an abusive domestic relationship, domestic abuse with Ike. And so everyone knows the story. Just watch the movie, What Love's Got to Do with It. And her life has changed. And she goes on to say that she, because of her thought process now being different, she's able to create the life and the happiness that she desires. And as long as you never give up, then how can you lose? You know, some things happen in a day. Some things can happen in a year. Some things may take 10 or 20 years to happen.
Yeah, and we tell people that we discuss this with that, you know, you don't stop having problems. We all have problems, but we know how to handle them. It just gives you, you know, an exercise to practice every day. And you get better and better at overcoming obstacles. And that's a great way to live your life.
Yeah, and I would never trade anything. At this point, I made 50 years old, 50 years young this year. And the amount of wisdom that I have in overcoming challenges just makes me stronger. I'm just at an age and a point that nothing can deter me from anything that I want. I've seen enough of life to know kind of a pattern that things show up, and then in hindsight, I can connect the dots. I can see why these things happen. You know, Hurricane Katrina, for example, was a very, very devastating time for people. You know,
Kristian's from New Orleans.
And I'm from New Orleans, you know, and I've chanted through a lot of different, I can take different stories about just chanting through that situation. But ultimately, Hurricane Katrina helped my wish of coming to higher ground, or being in a city with higher ground, come true. And I ended up in Dallas, because even before Hurricane Katrina, I used to have dreams or nightmares as such of New Orleans filling up like a bowl, and that's what it is. And they said the biggest hurricane wasn't Hurricane Katrina. So anyway, my goal was to protect myself and my family and get on higher ground. I didn't know which city it would be in. But now I'm in Dallas, and I still have my home in New Orleans. And I'm also here with the love of my life, Rita Joye. We're happy every day, moment to moment, you know. And I like Eckhart Tolle, you know, people who've ever heard about the power of now. I mean, he's a good person. We like to hear people like Abraham Hicks. I mean, anybody that's talking truth and positive energy like you, Andrea, we want to plug into. So not like we're into one particular thing, Buddhism. It's just that I'm Buddhist because I practice Buddhism because it works. If it didn't work, then there's lots of things I've been into. I grew up, you know, Catholic, Baptist, Methodist. If those things work for you, great. For me, Buddhism works, but I also at the same time respect my upbringing, you know, in the Bible and the different philosophies. I just respect. I'm a lover of truth. You know, Rita and I get up every morning and we get on a call, mastermind called Think and Grow Rich Mastermind, where we study the principles of Napoleon Hill, who is said to have created more millionaires than anyone in history. I don't believe in being someone who is lacking in any area. I plan on being wealthy, healthy, wise, compassionate, all the above. You know, whatever is necessary for me to maintain a level of happiness, spiritually, economically. That's what I'm doing. I'm here. Buddhism is common sense.
Yeah.
So whatever it takes for me, you know, we do music, and I would love to do music for free, and we do a lot of it for free. But we also know that when people want to give us donations, we take it because it pays the rent and the you know, the place that we're staying in, our office and different things. So, you know, some people just give us donations because that's what they truly want to do. So it all weighs out. We just give our heart, and then the energy, whether it's monetary or people just coming over and sharing their stories and their hearts with us, we're just overfilled with following our heart, overjoyed with following our heart. And Myoho Renge Kyo just keeps me where I keep the demons out, the negativity out, the shadows out that are part of life. But I'm able to keep it balanced. It's not about totally just getting rid of the darkness. The darkness is necessary. In fact, in our organization, it says, if you don't have problems, go out and find some. Because you need problems to show you what life is about, so you can have a value and a good awareness of a great grip on what life is about. And I'd even tell my children and everybody that I know, when you really understand life when you face death, and I've done that a couple of times too.
But one thing to remember is that we practice for ourselves and we practice for others, because of President Ikeda. And by the way, that's a younger picture of him. He's our mentor that will be 90 years old come January 2nd of 2018. So he sets an example for 60 years he's practiced this practice, or longer than that.
Yeah.
80 years. I think he was 19 when he started practicing.
He was. Yeah.
He's 90, right?
Right. But he tells us, you know, what was I going to say about practicing for ourselves and others? Oh, how can, you know, the whole point is to be happy. Everybody wants to be happy, but how can we be happy when somebody next door is suffering or we see suffering? So we make it our goal to help people. And that's why we want to teach people about this practice, because we know it can help whoever has the courage to try it.
Yes, it's a practice of compassion. So we look at the problems in the world and we put ourselves in that position. Like, you know, what could I do to help a person that's in that position? And how can I be there to be a friend? And for me, I like to say servant. I'm really a servant of the people. I want to be able to just be someone who is one just that's always ready to be available to help, to make anything better, just to be of service. And I like living like that. It's been great for me because at one time I had the attitude that I would just go ahead and take care of me and I'd come back and help people. But there's no such thing. There's never going back. There's only now and forward. So as I move forward, I do my best to be a servant and try to help people who are in need and never turn anyone down. And what I've learned is that the person in front of you is the most important person at that time. The person that you're talking to is the most important person in the world that you could be talking to, whether on the phone, doing a text, whatever you're doing at that time is the most important engagement that you can be involved in. It's living in the now and not worrying about what's going to happen after, because if you don't put your whole energy into right now, you'll never get the message or the feeling or the inspiration to keep moving in the direction that you need to, because you're always in a rush. And if you're always in a rush,
you're living in the past,
and if you're living in the past and you're not in the moment, it tends to bring anxiety, and that's just not healthy. So,
well, on that note, I'm gonna give you a second here to wrap up, because we're just doing a mini summit. I would love to talk about this for, a longer period of time, and maybe we can do that in the future. But just, one final thought to wrap it up, to encourage someone.
Yeah, well, let's see. I think what's so important is that we all, you said never give up, that we are all creators. And so be creative. And that's what I love, is that this has encouraged me to be creative, for myself, and something I can share with others. So I'd like to share a quick poem that I wrote. It's called Forevermore, my little organic love poem. The rhythm of love is pulsating in our hearts. The meaning of life is vibrating in our souls. Our elders are glowing because their legacy is growing. It's profound and it's dear, and it's why we're all here. Our dreams most definitely deserve to come true. It's our birthright, a privilege and a pleasure to pursue. So create your own happiness deep inside your core and enjoy inner peace forevermore.
That's lovely. Thank you. I got goosebumps for that one. Well, I want to thank you both for joining me. There's going to be a link below this video for anybody who's interested in finding out more about the Myoho Renge Kyo and about the sgiusa.org. And, and there's going to be a song also. I know that you guys are going to play another song. It'll be separate, and it'll be something that somebody can download and listen to, something that they've written. And, their website will be there. So if you want to hear more songs from them, you can.
Great.
So I thank you both for joining me here on the summit, and I'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.